Oh, hello, hello, hello. Greetings, Joe, from some funny sexual sounding city, town, village name the name you choose. That's funny. Well, welcome, buddy. Welcome to the show. Anybody else who is watching or is yet to tune in, well, welcome as well to you. But yeah, we got a bunch of stuff that went on over the last week, and it's been going on lots of crazy stuff, but we can only talk about a certain amount of things. Some of it we're just gonna have to leave out of the discussion. But we're gonna talk about Zelensky and his decision to go to the White House and be a turd, and yeah, and some what he subsequently said after his meeting with Trump and JD Vance. Yeah, this guy's a warmonger. He seems to want to continue war and doesn't seem to be interested in peace as long as the money pipeline keeps coming. So we'll talk about that. Also, we're going to talk about the tariffs that are coming, unfortunately, tomorrow. So March 4th, they're starting. That's it's going to affect. Honestly, it's going to affect the U.S. and Canada negatively. So we'll talk about that and what that means for you and all that. Also, we're going to talk about the Doge scorecard so far, essentially how Doge is doing. They did a poll, a pretty significant poll, and a very credible poll, showing that they're like 76% favorable among U.S. residents, which is good. I mean, yeah, I think they're doing a good job. I think a lot of people with common sense think they're doing a good job, and at least that the attempt is good. So we'll talk about all that, and I'm going to show where they're at so far on the Doge website, which you can check yourself anyway. But also, we're going to talk about the California wildfires, which you haven't heard anything about in the last little while. 100% contained, not quite out yet, but pretty much. I mean, when they've got them contained the way they have now, they're kind of done. But what's going to happen in the aftermath now, what Gavin Newsom his plans and proposals, what they're supposed to be doing and all that. We're going to read an article about that, and we'll kind of discuss on that, along with another wildfire that started in South Carolina. So we'll talk about all that. And lastly, we'll talk about a moon landing that just happened on Sunday by a private company, only the second such event ever. So this is cool. I mean, this is it's kind of like embarks on a whole new moon race, if you will, I guess. When the private companies start getting involved, and there's numerous ones, that's it's a good thing. It's a good thing for for everybody. It's a good thing for the hype that it's going to build. So we'll talk about that. But before we do all that, if you're not yet a subscriber, do subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything yet until I monetize the whole thing. No, I'm just kidding. It will never cost you anything. If you like the channel, if you want to support it, that's the best way to do it. And obviously get in the comments, talk to me. Let me know what you think about what we're talking about. Get into the discussion. I will talk to you, as you see, if you watch the podcast, I will talk to anybody who gets in the chat. It's a good time to get in the chat because there's like nobody there. So, I'm going to talk to you. When there's a lot of people in there, if it ever gets to that point, well, it's going to be a lot harder for me to talk to you. So, but my guys that have been with me since day one, you'll always get my attention. So be with me day one, get my attention, and go from there. And if you miss any part of the podcast and you want to catch segments of it, I don't post all the segments because honestly, it's nonsense if I do it. But if you want to catch parts of it that you missed, some of the good parts, you can catch them during the week between Tuesday and Sunday at 5. I drop them at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And obviously, if you interact with that and you watch it, share, comment, all that kind of stuff. Engagement. I'll say it all the time. That's what helps the small channels grow. So if you want to help a small channel grow, that's the way you do it. All right, let's get on to the first thing. I'm going to change to this camera here. I'm going to change. Boom, boom. What are you saying, Joe? 5 Canadian dollars says dollars. What's that to you? Like 25 cents? Says Newsom buys up all that burned land for pennies on the dollar like they did in Maui. Yeah, I agree. 5 Canadian dollars. My mind got ahead of my typing like always. Yeah. Well, listen, $5 doesn't mean as much as it meant, just a short time ago. All right, let's get on the first thing here. Okay, so yeah, we knew it was coming. Well, we hoped it wasn't, but we knew it was coming. The tariffs. The tariffs are going to be here tomorrow. Doesn't look like there's any 11th hour deals that are going to be, going to be dropped or anything like that. We're just going to have to eat the shit sandwich we're all going to be given. So I'm going to read this article. This is The Guardian. So speaking of shit sandwiches, here's one for you. This is what they have to say about it. Trump says no room left for deal that avoids tariffs on Mexico and Canada. We don't care about Mexico. I'm just kidding. We care about Mexico. If you travel to Mexico, you care. The U.S. will press ahead with steep tariffs on Canada and Mexico from Tuesday, Donald Trump has said, setting the stage for a trade war with his country's two largest economic partners and neighbors. Hours before his administration was due to hit America's closest neighbors with sweeping import duties, the U.S. president claimed there was no room left for a deal to avoid their imposition. The announcement led to a sharp sell-off on Wall Street. Whatever. Not really. I mean, it led, of course, but nothing more than sort of normal. If you see the sell-offs are always sharp lately. They're always around, between 1% and 2%. So, if you're a day trader, I'm sure you're making a lot of money shorting and doing all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, if you're an investor, simple investor like I am, well, you're probably getting hit, on the daily. All Mexican exports to the U.S. are set to face a levy of 25% under the plans. Most Canadian exports will face a 25% tariff, with energy products facing a 10% duty. Trump also indicated that an additional 10% levy on China, on top of the 10% introduced last month, will also be introduced. Tariffs are a very powerful weapon, he told reporters at a news conference. The action is set to prompt swift retaliation. We're ready, said the Canadian Foreign Minister Melanie Joly. Okay, shut up. Oh, we're ready. We're ready for a fight. Shut up. You should have been ready for talks. How about that? And figured out something. But here we are now. Our inept government. Thank you very much. Wall Street fell sharply after Trump's remarks, with the S&P 500 down 1.7%, Dow Jones Industrial Average down 1.5%, and the tech-heavy NASDAQ dropping over 2.6%. The tariffs will affect $900 billion in annual imports from Canada and Mexico. The Ford CEO, Jim Farley, has warned they threaten to blow a hole in U.S. industry. Trump has reluctantly conceded in recent weeks that higher tariffs could lead to higher prices in the U.S., but suggested the impact would be worth the cost. He has brushed off calls to tread carefully, escalating threats to go further. Tariffs are easy, they're fast, they're efficient, and they bring fairness, Trump said. He described the levies as a powerful weapon that other presidents have not used because they were dishonest, stupid, or paid off in some other form. Trump even took a swipe at Republican hero and staunch free trader president Ronald Reagan. I'm a huge fan of Ronald Reagan, but he was very bad on trade, said Trump. Tariffs are an act of war to some degree, the billionaire investor Warren Buffett warned recently. Over time, they are a tax on goods. The tooth fairy doesn't pay him. What are you talking about? That's stupid. The tariffs, obviously, if you understand tariffs, they're good for the country that's imposing the tariffs on the front side. Obviously, if they're taking tariffs in from imported goods from another country, and they're forcing their residents to now buy nationally instead of going outside of the country for goods and services. But that's not how a global economy works now. So it's going to affect everybody, whether you like it or not. When you get priced more, when you have to buy something for more, that cost has to be offset somewhere. So it usually ends up being the consumer. The end user ends up paying a lot more, right? So, I don't know. I don't see how this is going to help. Definitely not going to help in the short term. In the long term, but perhaps it might. But realistically, I think you just impose tariffs on certain goods that maybe you're trying to make sure that for example, if you have the ability to produce certain goods in your country, and the only reason why they're going elsewhere is because those goods are cheaper to get elsewhere, and it's affecting your economy negatively, well, I think that's a good idea to impose tariffs on those specific materials or goods. But to just impose blanket tariffs on pretty much everything, I don't know. I think it's an experiment that's been done before and maybe doesn't work. Or maybe it does. I don't know. I'm not an economist, but we'll see. I think we're all going to hurt for a little while, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, in 2018, he did it. He did a bunch with China and such, and it was affecting a lot of markets that I was involved in with construction and things like that. And it was a little rough for a while. Just if you remember that time period and you had any involvement with construction, just something like roofing nails were really hard to get, and it put a real shortage on them for a long time. So it was affecting like the roofing industry and things like that. So I see the same thing happening. I'm not gonna read any more of this article. Honestly, it's just more fluff. But yeah, just so you know, be aware that they are coming, and they are coming tomorrow. So, I think the hype is going to be worse than the actual bite of the tariffs themselves. I think the tariffs themselves they're obviously it's 25%. So it's significant, but it's more the fear of it. It's like when people were buying all the toilet paper when the vid happened right away, or just recently everybody's buying all the eggs up because they were worried about the tariffs. It's people's overreaction to these things are often worse than the actual medicine of the event, in this case the tariff. So yeah, but just brace yourself for the impact of the goofs all overreacting, and the markets and all that reacting probably in their own best interest. Like I said, shorting things and stuff like that. And never let a crisis go to waste, I guess, if you will. What are you saying there, Joe? If people refuse to buy tariffed items, the companies will be forced to lower their prices, and it won't affect you too much. Plus, like you said, buy local. Yeah, no, I agree. Like if you buy local, sure, but the problem is that we're so globalized now that it's going to affect shit in the immediate, right? So it's going to be, and the overreaction will massively affect things. People are just going to drive up prices with the idea that the tariffs are coming. Like so, a bunch of years back when they spiked energy prices, when oil prices went up like crazy, and fuel with one of the first big jumps of fuel prices, all the trucking companies and transportation companies and such, they all implemented these fuel surcharges. And so that obviously I was at that point, I was involved in the courier market. So that's what they did. They just implemented all these surcharges that added a massive amount to shipments. Like when I say a massive amount, I mean like upwards around 30%. So your shipments went up like 30% on the cost. So, and then of course that's got to be offset somewhere else. And so it's the reaction to the thing that's worse usually than what it is. I don't care about most tariffed items myself. I don't buy tchotchkes or real maple syrup, and if I did, I would get Vermont syrup. Yeah, you don't need our tchotchkes or our syrup. Yeah, that's the funny thing about the U.S. and Canada. We can kind of do fine on our own if we just buy nationally. If we don't go outside of our borders, we can kind of do all right. We really don't need the trade. A lot of it's done because of the dollar and things like that, and it's just cheaper. It might be cheaper for something to be made somewhere else, and you buy it, and by the time you import it over, it's cheaper for you than if you were to get it made locally or in the same country. So there's a lot of that. Obviously, the other way around, for the U.S. to buy from Canada is a lot cheaper because the dollar's 50% more right off the bat, so you're saving just on that. You buy something Canadian for $10 instead of US for $10, you save $5 right away. So yeah, I think it's actually going to backfire a little on the US right now, just because of the dollar being so much higher than the Canadian dollar. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll just have to see how this goes. I think, again, like I said, I think it's just all going to be an overreaction, but when all the dust settles, let's see what actually happens. Canada has enough resources to make its own nails. They're just too lazy to do it. Well, yeah, no, the problem is they kept importing, like they kept sending manufacturing over to like China and such, right? So, and then when you do that, then all of a sudden you disrupt that pipeline that you had coming over, and now you don't have the infrastructure set up at home to do all of it. There's a massive disruption. So hopefully in the last month, with these tariffs looming, Canada and the States, both of us, have kind of gotten our shit together a little bit and sort of, said, all right, well, this is going to happen, so let's start to plan. We got 30 days or whatever to plan. Let's get all our ducks in a row. But chances are, with our net government up here in Canada, at least, we didn't do any of that shit. So I think globalization is a problem myself. Yeah, well, I mean, definitely too much globalization. I agree with you. There should be a little bit more nationalism and like countries taking care of themselves to some degree. But yeah, so I do agree with you. I don't know. Everything's got two sides. It's not nothing's binary like that. But all right, let me get on to the next thing here. Apparently, I could talk about this the whole thing. Oh, I should have talked about that, but I didn't. I forgot about that. I had an article there. I forgot all about Doug Ford was our premier in Ontario was saying that he's going to mandate grocery stores to put "Made in Canada" under the prices of stuff if people don't voluntarily do it. This is a stupid article, but I didn't get to it. Oh well, too bad. All right, next thing. Okay, so no doubt you've seen already, or at least heard, that Zelensky got to the White House, to the Oval Office, to speak with Trump and Vance about the ongoing Ukraine war and some type of peace talks and getting it to a point where there's at least a ceasefire. Well, that didn't go very well. If you've watched any of that or you're privy to the to basically the minutes of that meeting, yeah, it didn't go well at all. He went in there real rough and rude and probably just insulted JD Vance and President Trump. So they just weren't having any of it. Didn't seem like he was really open to peace talks or ceasefire or anything like that. He just wanted more money and more guarantees from the U.S. that they were going to back this war, which Trump has made pretty clear. There's no interest in backing a long war with Ukraine and Russia. So they're looking for peace. They're looking for some type of deal. And it doesn't look like Zelensky is into that. So I'm going to read this article. This is BBC. This is what Zelensky said after the fact. I don't think Trump's going to take this very well either. So Trump condemns Zelensky remarks that war is far away. A statement by Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky saying a deal to end the war with Russia was very far away has drawn a furious response by Donald Trump. America will not put up with it for much longer, the U.S. president said in a social media post before accusing Zelensky of not wanting peace. A summit of mostly European leaders in London on Sunday agreed a 4-point plan to guarantee Ukraine's defense in the event of a peace deal with Russia. Probably not a great statement to have made in terms of a show of strength against Russia. What are they thinking, Trump said, apparently referring to the summit held 2 days after his fiery clash with Zelensky at the Oval Office. The summit, hosted by UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer, was intended as a show of support for Ukraine and an attempt to reduce differences between Western countries over Ukraine. Britain and France said they were working on a European-led solution to the conflict. After the meeting, Zelensky said a deal to end the war between Ukraine and Russia was still very, very far away. He added that he expected the U.S. to continue backing Ukraine despite its own fraught relations with Trump. I believe that Ukraine has a strong enough partnership with the United States of America, Zelensky said late on Sunday. But on Monday, Trump responded by reiterating his views that Zelensky stood in the way of peace negotiations. This is the worst statement that could have been made by Zelensky, and America will not put up with it for much longer. It is what I was saying. This guy doesn't want there to be peace as long as he has America's backing. During a news briefing later on Monday, this is bad editing, by the way, by the BBC, later in Monday. No, it's on Monday, but whatever. Trump reiterated his view that Zelensky should be more appreciative for the aid he has received from the U.S. in the 3 years since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. During the confrontation in front of cameras at the White House, both Trump of U.S. and U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance expressed anger by what they perceived as Zelensky's lack of gratitude. Just say thank you, Vance demanded at one point. If you did watch this, interview, or this interaction at the Oval Office, it was weird. It was weird to watch. It was just like this. I don't know. I would liken it to like a teenage child trying to get their way with their parents, coming in and being belligerent, trying to overtalk them, interrupting, like kind of being a little insulting at times. It was really weird. It wasn't very diplomatic. I'm not saying that Trump is very diplomatic in that way anyway. He's like a shrewd businessman. He's not really going to pull punches. He just says what he thinks at the time. He's not really political, right? So, but you're at the Oval Office. Shut the fuck up. Like, just go in there, cap in hand. You're looking for money. Shut up. Say thank you. Say please. All that shit. Don't talk when someone else is talking, and you're gonna get a lot more. I think he's used to the other administration where they were able to kind of push around a little bit and say this is what we want, or maybe they didn't have to push around. Maybe they just kind of just went and they got a check. So it was aggravating to watch. Anyway, so all right. He added that he would provide an update on the minerals deal late on Tuesday. After the London summit, the UK and France suggested a European coalition of the willing to defend Ukraine and to make sure Russia would not invade after a peace deal. Sarkier said that the idea of sending troops to Ukraine, which would include boots on the ground and planes in the air, had the backing of several parties, but he was careful to leave it to individual countries to discuss the matter internally. So basically they're saying, well, it's going to be, it's not going to be mandatory for these countries to help, but if they would like to help, they're going to help. It's weird politics going on here. I don't understand the move by the European Union there to. It's almost like they're playing political games with the states a little bit to kind of say, all right, well, maybe we'll come in and back it up. When realistically, it should all be aligned to end this well overdue war, and get some peace going there. And from all appearances, it looks like Putin wants to do that. But I mean, probably because he's going to get a lot more of what he wants as opposed to what Ukraine wants. So, not a great look for Zelensky and with the U.S. And I don't think this is going to go well for him. I think he's going to get what he wants, and I think this is I think it's a little bit more dragging out this bullshit war that's that was propped up by the U.S. Hopefully now with less of the propping up and a little bit more political pressure, maybe from the U.S., there could be an end to this thing. But I don't know. It's tough when you got a guy that seems to want to carry on and fight to the end. What are you saying there? Zelensky is a joke. I heard he called JD a bitch under his breath in Ukrainian during that meeting. Well, that'd be funny if he did. Well, not funny, but funny bad. Whether or not that's true, I don't know. I don't speak the language. I like that we got the behind the doors meeting in public. I wonder what it was like behind the doors if that's what we got in public. Yeah, exactly. It's funny because he's trying to flex on camera, right? Like, as if he's gonna get the support of the U.S. citizens against Trump. Like it was really weird. It was a weird. I don't know. Like I wouldn't have expected that from the type of meeting that was. It was as if that was kind of like an icy diplomatic meeting between two countries that are at war, not one that's backing the other. Like it was just really, really odd to me. I like Trump, but he does that too, though. He does get people's hackles up. So, whatever. There's a little bit of that, but I don't disagree with him at all in this circumstance. You don't come into the Oval Office and start demanding or acting like like an expectant child, So I feel like JD may have grabbed him by the neck and slammed him against the wall. Yeah, I feel like he could for sure if he wanted to. I don't think Zelensky's much of anything, but he plays a war hero on TV. Okay, let's get into the next thing here. Boop, boop, deep boop. Okay, so Doge, like it or not, people like it. If you don't like them, well, you'd be in the minority because they just did a poll and it looks like 76% of Americans support Doge. That's just one poll. That's a Harvard poll, apparently a pretty, a pretty significant poll, a pretty, upstanding poll, which is it's good to see. But I think if you talk to people, a lot of people are just, I mean, whether you support Elon and his Doge team or not, specifically, I think most people support looking under the hood. Let's see where all this money's going. Why is there so much waste? Why is the U.S. 2 trillion in deficit every year? Like, where is that money going? And where can it be? Where can things be cut? Because obviously, you don't know anything about business, or anything about living. You can't live in negative for too long before shit hits the fan. Let me read this article, and then I'm going to show you. I'm going to read this article here, then I'm going to show you the Doge website, where it shows how much money they've purported to save over since inception, and how much that relates to per taxpayer, which is funny because people think that that's what they're going to get. They're going to get some kind of rebate check. Not going to happen. This is NDTV World. It says polls show 76% of Americans support Doge, and Elon Musk reacts. 76% of Americans support the Department of Government Efficiency, according to the new Harvard Capps Harris poll. At a White House press briefing last week, Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt highlighted the poll findings. 76% of Americans support the Doge-led efforts of a full-scale investigation to find and eliminate fraud and waste in government expenditures. Billionaire Elon Musk, who leads the initiative to eliminate fraud and streamline federal spending, on Sunday reacted to the poll findings on X, writing, "The American people like what they see." Doge has reported billions in government savings, launching an agency efficiency leaderboard ranking departments based on cost-cutting efforts. Agencies such as the Department of Education, General Services Administration, Environmental Protection Agency, Department of Labor, and Office of Personnel Management have recorded the most savings. Doge thus far has proven incredibly successful in making our government more efficient, Leavitt said. Tasked with cutting wasteful spending, Doge has flagged massive financial mismanagement. Earlier, Musk revealed that the U.S. government loses $2 trillion annually, and cited examples such as the missing $12 billion for submarines and trillions in unchecked payments, which continue due to bureaucratic inertia. The government earlier canceled a $21 million fund meant to boost voter turnout in India. Yeah, we need that. It also scrapped funding for several other overseas projects, including $29 million for political programs in Bangladesh, $47 million for education in Asia, $40 million for gender equality, and $32 million for the Prague Civil Society Center. These sound like things that are needed. Fuck your bridge. Your bridge is breaking. Oh, we got wildfires in LA and South Carolina. Too bad. We need to send some money over there for these voter turnouts in India. Trump's overall approval rating is at 52%. The survey conducted online from February 19 to 20 among 2,443 registered voters also showed U.S. President Donald Trump's overall approval rating at 52% in his first month back in office. The poll highlighted strong public support for his handling of immigration, cutting government costs, and returning America to its values. Describing it as very legitimate, pollster shouted that Americans overwhelmingly give Trump very positive remarks, with most of his policies receiving strong majority support. Well, of course. I mean, he got a mandate, so it's too early now for people to say, okay, this stuff isn't working. And initially, he's making the right moves on a lot of things, right? So, he slowed immigration completely. I mean, people were expecting this mass exodus of illegals, but of course that takes time. You can't just, you got to find them and deport them. But you can stop the bleeding. That's the biggest thing, right? The bleeding was the open border. So the open border's been closed essentially. So that bleeding stopped, and now it's finding where all the infection is. That's the people. So you can't expect too much with that. But other things like the Doge, this Department of Government Efficiency, that's that was part of his promise, and he's doing it. He's fulfilling his promises, whether you like it or not. He's fulfilling his promises, and it takes a little time. These are big ships; they don't move very fast, right? So, all right, that's the end of that article. Basically, not a bad article. I mean, sounds a little bit. It might be leaning a little bit towards Trump, which is nice to read an article finally like that, because most of them lean away. And, I just want an article that's really trying to broadcast news, which is, what you're looking for news. You don't want partisan propaganda, essentially. It's, like I said, let me show you this. This is the Doge site. So you can check this out yourself. You just go to doge.gov. And then you can find out, you can see all this. You can see what they're doing. Like, it shows you the leaderboard or where the most money has been sort of found. and then they go through all these different. You can actually you can literally click on a link here and see what the document is. So the document scanned, it shows you what it is. You're not really going to understand any of it, but it's there. It's open for you to look. You can see the value, what they are, a small explanation essentially of what it is, where it's going, and there's the total. So the estimated savings right now, it says 105 billion. Of course, that's not a true savings. Anybody who thinks that is, I got a bridge to sell you. It's probably breaking because infrastructure sucks. But so it's not an actual 100% true. It's just estimated. It says estimated savings. So that's where they're just taking something, and obviously if they've got a contract that maybe some has been paid out, some of it's still outstanding, it's not going to be 100% savings on that contract. It might be just bloated and bullshit, but there's some of it that's saved, and it'll, as they go, they're going to find more, and they're going to audit and figure out what the real number is. But when you're talking about these kinds of numbers, let's say you audit it and it's 102 billion instead of 105 billion. Okay. Not that 3 billion isn't significant, but it's still 102 billion, so. But this one makes me laugh. The amount saved per taxpayer. People are using this. They're all over this as some kind of rebate that this is going to come back to Joe Blow taxpayer. No, it will not. You might get some type of tax savings, like some rebates and things like that, things you can actually use to write off your taxes, but you're not going to get a check because realistically, this is money it's not like this is surplus. This is all negative. It's like asking a losing company for a raise, it's like a company losing money, I should say, for a raise. It's not money that's there. It's money that's just being saved and being, it's stopped. They're stopping it from being spent poorly. So anyways, so if you want to check that out, check it out. I encourage you, just take a look, keep watching that. It's, it's there for you. And, again, I think this is good stuff. I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to see them, saving money on bullshit and putting more money in people's pockets. And, I'm not American, but, happy to see my American brothers and sisters getting a little bit of a break on where their money is being spent, their taxpayer dollars, and printed money being spent. Let's get that deficit down and hopefully not go bankrupt. What are you saying here? He also plays the piano with his manhood. Percent is one word that drives me insane, not percent. That would be per America's lowest value coin. Yeah. He's the only president in my life that's at least tries to do everything he promises, some with better results than others, not, but nothing feels like an empty promise. No, I agree. That's it. It's like, so you can hate on him and say, oh, well, he said he would do this. Like, okay, so in his first crack at the White House, he said he would put a wall up and it would be paid for by Mexico and all this, whatever. Well, no, that didn't happen exactly, but he did get a lot of the wall up. He did as much as he could. He had to fight bureaucracy and a government that was against him the whole time. So he's trying to do what he says he's going to do, and he tries to do what the American people want. He's very swayable in that regard. Look with the whole TikTok thing. I think he, the people look at it like a weakness, that it's a weakness that he's swayable, by public sentiment. But isn't that what a politician is supposed to be? Aren't you supposed to be swayed by sentiment? It's funny when Trump sways, people go, oh, well, he's wishy-washy, he's not doing what he said. But yet you look at someone like Obama, where Obama was against gay marriage, and then he swayed on that and was pro gay marriage. So I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think it's good that he did that. I think it's good that, you get in light of new information, you change your mind. I think that's what intelligent people do. And I think you roll. You say you want to do something, and then you realize, oh shit, maybe that's not possible exactly that way. But, we're still going to try and get the sentiment of what we wanted to get done, saving money. Like, that's the sentiment. It's cutting waste. That's the sentiment. Maybe they're not going to do it exactly the way he says, but the effort's there, right? So I agree with you. I think it's at least he's trying to fulfill his promises. They were throwing out $5,000 per taxpayer for all this crap spending. I think my grandpa was correct, and gay marriage was a slippery slope. Listen, I don't care. Honestly, you do what you want to do. Now, there's the argument to be made sometimes about, whether things should be under the law or not. Whether you can do it or not doesn't mean, like, whether something's not illegal, but it's, it's under the umbrella of the law, like something like gay marriage. That's the debate, right? Whereas I'm just for it. I'm a libertarian. Go nuts. If two people want to get married, I don't give a shit. Let them. As long as they're people. As long as it's not a guy marrying an ostrich or something like that. Two guys, two gals, guy and a gal. Whatever you want. Doesn't matter. You want to marry somebody, just make it, it has to be, two people, not polygamy. So we're not a polygamous country. So I don't think we should allow polygamous marriages in this country. Anyways, I digress. Let me get on the next thing. Second last thing. Where are we at? 36 minutes. So we're just cooking along. So Trump went and met with Gavin Newsom, and talking about these forest fires and what's next, what's going to come after, how are they going to avoid them, all this kind of stuff. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the these democratic states. I don't know, man. A little hairy. They don't run things so good. Let me read this article here. This is Politico, so don't expect much. These guys outwardly hate Trump. They just lost a bunch of funding because of Trump, so it's not going to be favorable for Trump in any way. But let's see what they have to say. With eye on Trump, Newsom declares California emergency for forest fires. California Governor Gavin Newsom on Saturday will announce a state of emergency to close or to clear forests of flammable brush, a dramatic move as temperatures rise and the threat of more wildfires grow. That also appears aimed at mollifying President Donald Trump and Republicans. Newsom's action, first reported by Politico, would suspend the state's environmental and coastal area regulations, both of which Trump and his GOP allies vigorously pilloried. I don't even know what the hell that word is. Pilloried? Whatever. As major roadblocks to clearing burn-prone areas of the Golden State. I love that article, or that sentence there. Newsom's action first reported by Politico. Shut up. You're garbage. Hopefully you just go away without all this USAID funding that you were getting. The Democratic governor and his aides have long contended that they've rapidly surged the state's brush clearing efforts since he took office in 2019, a point Newsom said he reiterated in his recent Oval Office sit-down with Trump. But his emergency declaration is an implicit acknowledgement that the state's actions so far have not been enough to prevent partisan finger-pointing and blame laid at the feet of Democrats who run the state. Newsom's headline-grabbing actions comes as he appeals to the Trump administration and congressional Republicans for nearly $40 billion in federal disaster aid to help rebuild Los Angeles after January's devastating wildfires. Good thing that they're running around saving all this money, because now the hands are out for the money. And I'm not saying, listen, this is an internal thing. Take politics out of it. It doesn't matter who the fuck is running the state, who's in the White House. A bunch of people lost their homes. It was devastating. So yeah, that's what countries should do. Right away, you take care of your own. You have a devastating wildfire, whether it's preventable or not preventable, doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you take care of it. If you had a neighbor that burned down their house accidentally, they're smoking in bed or something, they burned down their house. You're not going to say, "Oh, fuck you, screw you, you're on your own, man. Sleep outside." Or no, you're gonna help them. You're gonna call them an idiot, and you're like, "Hey, maybe next time don't smoke in your fucking bed, but I've got a room for you. I'll take care of you for a little bit." That's what we do, right? It doesn't matter whether right or wrong. It doesn't matter. We just got to take care of our own shit. Trump has complained for years, going back to his first term in office, that California doesn't do enough to clear flammable natural materials, despite much of the land being managed by federal officials. Here's the rub. Here's where they're going to get Yeah, here's where they're going to really churn it into Trump here. More than half of California's forests are federally managed, whereas the state manages roughly 3% of forests. So basically, what they're saying there is this is not the state's fault or Gavin Newsom's fault. This is federal government's fault, which is odd because Trump wasn't in federal government for 4 years there, so it'd be kind of nice if they said, and maybe some of this was Biden, but they would never say that. After the recent fires broke out in Los Angeles, in what's expected to be the most expensive disaster in U.S. history, Trump again suggested that California needs to do a better job of raking the forests. The president and congressional Republicans are trying to impose conditions on California receiving the billions in disaster aid money, with some of the discussions centered on congressional mechanics and others focused more squarely on policy. I love how they don't mention anything about the water shortage. Nothing like that, because that would kind of hurt the argument a little bit. Newsom's new order will suspend provisions of state environmental laws, including the California Environmental Quality Act and Coastal Act, that he said are stymieing efforts to create fuel breaks, remove trees and other vegetation, and conduct prescribed fires to reduce the risk of catastrophic blazes. This year has already seen some of the most destructive wildfires in California history, and we're only in March, Newsom said in a statement shared ahead of his formal announcement. These are the forest management projects we need to protect our communities most valuable to wildfire or vulnerable to wildfire, and we're going to get them done. Okay, so basically trying to, skirt responsibility. If it's your state and you know that, if that's true, I'll just assume it is true, that 50% of the forested area is federal responsibility, then wouldn't you just go in there and say, hey, look, listen, send federal aid to clean up your shit, or, pay us to do it from federal dollars and we'll get it done. It's just this, the saying the blame isn't on you is stupid. You're the manager. As governor of the state, the buck hits you. It stops at you. That's it. You should be in control of your state. Or else, what are you doing? Like, this is just nonsense. This is just political theater and nonsense. And it's just, they'll just keep pointing the finger. They'll just deflect and say, no, this wasn't us. And we're going to do all this and we're going to do that. And there's going to be no blame. Nobody takes any blame for it. We just keep pushing the can down the road. And Gavin Newsom will end up running for president at some point. And everybody will forget that he was a fucking dog shit governor. What are you saying? I maintain that marriage is a religious institute and the state shouldn't be involved in it at all. Even divorce should be handled by the church, in my opinion. Yeah, I agree. Actually, yeah, I do agree with that. I mean, yeah, that's where it starts. It's like, it's a religious thing. But now when you talk about marriage as far as state marriage, then you're talking about, taxation purposes and ownership of assets and things like that. That's where the governance comes in. But I agree with you on marriage, essentially. I think it's an antiquated notion. It doesn't really matter if you live with somebody long enough in most countries, in the Western world anyway. In states, it's you have common law, that basically acts as marriage. So you still have to have the division of assets and liabilities and all that. So yeah, but I essentially agree. Yeah, I think that's if you're just gonna make it religious, keep it religious. That's not libertarian. The libertarian view is your house burns down, you got to take care of your own. No, but that's the humanitarian view, is you help others too. You don't just turn your back from everybody. Libertarians aren't just looking inward either. Libertarians are good. It's community. You help your community, right? If you know your neighbors and your neighbors aren't pieces of shit, well, you're going to help them. Even if your neighbors are a piece of shit, I've helped pieces of shit. I've helped people that are garbage people in situations. I'm not going to go out of my way or anything, but I'm not going to not help them either. It's like, it's, I don't know. Okay. So it's the idea of like, I don't know, this one's going to be a little controversial or something, but somebody goes in and attacks a bunch of people in a restaurant or something, and then they're injured. We still help them. As much as, there's a party that's like, no, fuck them. I don't want to help them. the human in you goes, nah, we gotta help that person at least to the point where we get them good to face what they did, right? So, anyways, I digress. What else are you saying here? It happened for many reasons, least of which was water or forest management. Yeah, well, what do you think? I think a lot of it's forest management, and the fact that they weren't able to fight them very well was a lot to do with the water management. So I don't know if you got other ideas, I guess, but I think the biggest of them are those. I mean, sure, there's other reasons, but I think the majority of it's those two reasons alone. You're gonna have forest fires no matter what. Like it's there's nothing you can do, especially in a climate like California. You're gonna get forest fires, but it's about managing to make sure that, like, that's why they do controlled burns and such, right? I see that. Okay, fair enough. that's why text versus conversation is problemsome. Sometimes you miss stuff like that. I didn't even notice that when I'm looking at it. Yeah, now that I look at it, it looks like an eye roll, and then when I scroll over it, it says face with rolling eyes. So, listen, I don't play like I'm all that smart. But anyways, all right, let's get on the last thing here. Oops, plopped it off. Here we go. This is non-political. This is, well, sort of. I mean, there's a little bit of politics to this, I suppose, but less politicky than the rest of it. This has been a very heavy politics podcast, so gonna end it with a little bit of cool tech kind of stuff. Here we go. So a private company, I shouldn't say we, it has nothing to do with us. Private company sent a module, or whatever you want to call it, a rover to the moon. This is cool. This is only the second time it's ever happened, and it's like there's new interest in the moon again, which is nice. Or it's new interest in the moon again, but maybe the first time we ever landed there. Who knows? Let me read this article. This is livescience.com. These guys are all right. I mean, they're not usually very political. We start talking about NASA and stuff, it's hard to stay out of the politics, I guess. But let's see what they have to say about this. Sunrise on the moon captured by Blue Ghost spacecraft after NASA and Firefly Aerospace announced successful lunar landing. Okay. The Blue Ghost lunar lander has captured a sunrise on the moon and other stunning images after its successful touchdown on the lunar surface early on Sunday morning, March 2nd. Blue Ghost landed in an enormous basin in the northeastern part of the moon's near side at 3:34 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, NASA announced in a statement. The space agency is working with commercial space exploration company Firefly Aerospace, which is leading the mission, to learn more about the moon and test new technologies on the lunar surface for future space exploration. Kind of funny to me that they have to do that because, we were there a lot of times. I don't even know. We had Apollo 11, what was the last one? Apollo 13 or something like that. How many landings on the moon? I don't actually know exactly. How many proposed landings, I should say. Whatever. But you think that we'd have all this information already kind of logged and it'd just be like, well, let's just go back there. Let's just happen to go back to Johnny's house on the moon, but it's not what's happening. What else? Blue Ghost is only the second private lunar lander ever to park on the moon after Initiative Machines' Odysseus craft touched down in February of 2024. Not so successfully, that one, though, but this one's successful. After Blue Ghost's successful landing, Firefly Aerospace CEO Jason Kim said in a statement that Firefly was literally and figuratively over the moon. Blue Ghost Mission 1 to the moon, or Ghost Riders in the Sky, is the first of Firefly's 3 planned missions to our nearest celestial neighbor that will run until 2028. With annual lunar missions, Firefly is paving the way for a lasting lunar presence that will help unlock access to the rest of the solar system for our nation, our partners, and the world, Kim said. Blue Ghost launched from the NASA Kennedy Space Center on January 15th. The mission previously captured a trove of photos on its way to the moon. The latest snaps come after Blue Ghost made its landing inside Mare Crisium, a lunar basin more than 480 kilometers, or 300 miles for you Americanos, wide, according to the NASA statement. Despite reaching the moon a full year after Intuitive Machines' Odysseus lander, Firefly Aerospace claimed it is the first commercial company to successfully land on the moon after Blue Ghost softly touched down and still stands upright and stable. Last year, Odysseus ended up face planting the moon while snapping one of its legs in the process. This stumbled landing only partially affected the mission's success, Live Science previously reported. Intuitive Machines aims to return to the moon with its Athena lander on Thursday, March 6th, while Science's sister site, space.com, reported. So it's cool, though, that we got a little space race with private companies going, which is funny, though. These guys, they can't send this shit up there without SpaceX, so they jump on a Saturn IX rocket of SpaceX and get this shit up there. So they can't get it up there. They can build these cool little landers and rovers and such to get up there and do all the exploring they want, but they just can't get them up there by themselves. That's where the fascist Elon Musk comes in to help. So got to keep that guy all happy and stuff. Whatever. I kid. Obviously, I don't think he's a fascist. I think people are retarded for saying that. But this is cool. This is really cool stuff. I just like to see that there's actually a little space race going on. I like it more to see that it's private companies because, the more the regulations are relaxed for these private companies to be able to send shit up to the moon and Mars and maybe other places, Venus, you never know. It's good for us. It's good. That just obviously we see that private companies can do this shit a lot more streamlined and a lot cheaper and more efficient than the government does because they're spending money that it's limited. They have limited access to resources, whereas the government just, they can spend willy-nilly. They can spend $30,000 on a hammer and it, doesn't bother anybody. But good news for the space race and good news for I think all of us. Oh, he's saying India never landed on the moon. Do you remember that video? No, I don't actually. But no, it's just funny to me that they got to test all this stuff for viability to put humans on the moon and stuff. Like, shouldn't you already know this shit? Like, I don't know, man. I think it's going to be. I think when we do land on the moon, I think a lot of questions are going to be answered. I think. Whether they're, but I don't think they're going to answer everything. They're going to kind of like give little things, kind of like the whole, Kennedy assassination and stuff. I don't think we're ever going to really get all of the information on that. We're just going to know that wasn't on the up and up. Kind of going to be the same. I think it's like you throw enough shit at the wall. People will believe certain things. People will believe other things, and then you can get away with, plausible deniability, right? And, I think it's sad. I wish full disclosure was the case, but I don't see it happening. Most things, I agree. Most things should be in the private sector. I'm all in for the moon base, but Mars, no way. It can't be done. It has no magnetic field. That's kind of important for life. Yeah, but they're talking about like doing like a biodome type thing. But I also just obviously you've seen that Elon was on Rogan, and he was talking about that going to Mars. Yeah, I don't like the idea of going to Mars first either. Why don't we just prove that we can go to the moon and just, do that? And it's like, it's right there, like 250,000 kilometers. I think it's 236,000 kilometers away or something like that. Instead of 6 months travel, you can get there in a few days. I think that's the way to go. Let's prove that we can do it there. And then, let's send more rovers and shit to Mars and get some stuff there. But let's not worry about humans there for, at least until we get humans on Earth, or from the moon. Let's launch all the ships going to Mars from the moon. Why launch them from Earth? It's a lot more dangerous. So, anyways, the India moon landing looked like a 1980s video game. No, I've never seen that. I should look it up. I've never seen that. Plus, who was there to film the craft landing? Yeah, there's so many things. It's just weird with it. I mean, I could do a whole podcast on how weird all that is. I want to believe we went there. I want to believe that maybe we didn't go there when we said we went there, but we went there after. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, we've proven that we can go past the Van Allen radiation belt now. So it's like just recently they did that. So that's been debunked. The whole idea that we can't get past it. So I mean, it's plausible that we went, and like guys like Matt Walsh make the argument for. Let me just change the scene. Yeah, guys like Matt Walsh make the argument that it'd be a tough thing to lie about. I don't agree with that. I think humans can lie about anything. I think you throw enough bullshit out there, and I think it was a lot easier to lie back then than it is now. And but now they just lie in a different way. Now it's like you just throw so much shit out there that you don't know what to believe. Back then, you just had one narrative, and it came from the reputable source. And then if anybody said anything otherwise from like other back a magazine, you know, what am I looking for? Like, like a little write up in the back of a friggin' Playboy or a little radio show that nobody's really heard of mainstream wise. Yeah, they say it there, and people go, oh, "That's just fringe." So it's yeah. Anyways, I want to believe it, but I don't know. You gotta make me believe it. At this point, it's tough. Anyways, all right. Well, that's it. That's it, man. That's it, Joe. Nobody else showed up today in our conversations here. It was just you and I talking, like we're just shooting shit, and sometimes people were watching. Just fine with me, whatever. But yeah, if you were watching, you are watching, or you do watch this, and you like the content, and you want to help out the channel, subscribe. That's the best way to do it. And look for any part of the podcast that you don't want to sift through or watch the whole thing. If you want to see it in smaller doses, you can check for those between Tuesday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern. I'll drop ones that I think are going to be a little bit more, engaging. And yeah, obviously comment, like, all that kind of stuff on those. Sharing is a huge thing. If you share the stuff, that lets the algorithm know that people want to see it. So yeah, I haven't been doing any of the tools of Restless lately because honestly, I think the channel. So what I did was I used to put them on my one channel, and then I moved them from that channel to its own channel. But I repurposed an old channel that I had as a backup channel, and I think that channel was dead. So I was posting the videos, and they're getting no views whatsoever. They're not even getting impressions. So it tells me either the channel's dead or something. I don't know, like either it's being shadow banned or it's dead. Like I don't know what could be happening with it. So it makes no sense for me to post new content to that channel if it's just dead. So I'm just going to delete that channel. I'm going to start a new channel completely, re-upload the videos. I've got, I think, 14 episodes at this point. So it'll take 14 weeks. I'm going to do one a week. I'm going to re-upload those one a week and then get to the point where I'm at new episodes, and then I'll start posting the new ones after. But right now it's like, there's no point for me to spend the time shooting them and then editing them and doing all that stuff if YouTube's going to give me 5 impressions on a video. It's ridiculous. I don't get it. I've sent messages to YouTube about it to no avail. They're not going to respond to me. I'm not a big enough channel, I guess, or something, but whatever. It is what it is. So that's what's happening with the Tools of Restless. So expect that channel to be deleted probably tonight. I'm going to imminently, like after I'm done this, I'll probably just delete that channel. But I will start it again pretty soon. Like I'll probably repost the channel either under the same name or something very close to it, so you can look for it. But all right, buddy. Well, it's good talking to you. Everyone else, thanks for watching, and check out the live broadcast every Monday, 7 o'clock Eastern. Jump in the chat. Joe and I are always here, and we get Robert and Christopher and Art sometimes, and some other people, and you can get in there and chat with us and say your piece. Otherwise, yeah, we'll see you next week or not see you. Either way. Thanks for watching. See you, Joe. We'll see everybody else next week.